Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the final review for the Yo tanks. Not the 10. I may get to the 10, but this is the 9. Just finished grinding up to the 10 in record time. We're going to talk about that a little bit. But the tier 9 Yo tank. So this line, I'm almost to the point of saying, what was the point? We'll go through it. We'll go through it as we talk. The tier 9 was definitely an interesting one. If you want to save some time and you're interested in where I think you should grind to and you only want the good tanks, then you probably want to stop at the 8. That's probably true. But let's talk about the 9. We'll do an overview, tech tree considerations, 3D model, a comparison amongst its peers. In fact, a comparison against itself because it has 2 viable guns, much like the 8 does. My stats, my setup, and a couple examples of gameplay. This is the M6Y. So it goes Pollack, M2Y, M3Y, M4, no, not M4Y, M6Y, and then M5Y. Don't ask me why. Yo, don't ask me why. I don't know. This is another one of the Yo tank proposals, one of the projects that was put forth. Number of technical solutions for various things. Mainly kind of the positioning of some of the crew members and where they would be or wouldn't be. There was even one, and this is not one that we got, there was one that had the engine in the turret. I thought that would have been a pretty cool one to include. I don't know why. That's one of the ones that they didn't, maybe the only one actually that Wargaming decided not to put in. There's a couple videos out there on the Yo tanks you can check out. I thought that was kind of strange that they went with the numbering convention that they did in Wargaming's terms. Because like I said, it's 2, 3, 6, 5. I don't know. Anyway, Yo tank. Here it is. It is a goofy looking tank. It looks like a tank straight out of Fallout or something like that. Or maybe you drew that when you were 12 years old or 8 years old in boarding school. Egg-shaped turret, oscillating kind of version right there. Massive. You know, what's better than one giant tumor on an American tank? Really, though? Isn't 2 better? Isn't it just nicer that if you're not going to put it in the very middle giant tumor, that you give them 2 giant tumors to shoot? Isn't that just better? I think it's better. I can't wrap my mind around that, but there you have it, folks. Wargaming decided to give it a pretty significantly cool turret and then plop 2 massive tumors on it because one just isn't enough. Let's look at the tech tree considerations. All right, as noted beforehand on the Pollack and the rest et al., the T1 Heavy is where it splits off, goes to tier 6. We're up here on the tier 9 for the M6Y. It is 4 crew members with the radio operator being on the commander, and you can move them comfortably with gold, or I suppose you could do it without gold if you wanted to lose some skills. Right along all the way up to the tier 10, so that is nice. In terms of this tank, you, again, is fairly streamlined, are going to unlock tracks, engine, and radio. You really don't have to unlock the radio. It just doesn't matter at this tier, but if you're trying to elite it and all that good stuff and get extra experience for your crew, then you will do that. You've got a 90mm, which is pretty mediocre to begin with. You get a pretty good 105, and this has two guns that are viable. Notice that the 120 is off to the side, so you really don't need it. Some people will just grind straight through to get to the 10 and maybe unlock the 120 later. The trade-off here being that you're going to have 251 standard and 315 gold with a 320 alpha, 2,313 DPM. And if you unlock this, you get a whole 243, which is slightly lower, and 300 on the penetration for a 400 alpha and a considerably lower average DPM. When you consider the amount of autoloaders and other overpowered kinds of gun mechanics, double barrels, 2-shot autoloaders that have been put into the game, and then you consider the gun options that have been given to the Yo tanks, it's pretty funny. 3D model. Let's look. Alrighty, here it is. I'm sensing I'm being a little negative. Am I being too negative? Potentially. Here she is, a pretty darn good turret. And it's got that goofy egg shape, which means straight on, it's quite bouncy. You get some auto ricochet angles pretty quickly. Then you've got it right around this area that's thick at 315, 322. That's a lot. So you're definitely talking about 9s or 10s pressing number 2 and some 8s in order to have any chance against the turret. And it is rounded enough that you get to auto ricochet pretty quickly off to the side. Now, much like the rest of them, you get any kind of side angle and it comes right down, right? So that flat plates that egg pretty well. But near the top and bottom, you get ricochet. So it's a weird angle. All that just doesn't matter, though, does it? Because you're staring at this thing right here, right? Look at these two dudes. Two big hats. It wasn't bad enough that the M2Y had the one chapeau. You got two hats that can both be pinned for all your hit points. One on each side, which is beautiful, because you can't plan to use a certain corner or another. Doesn't matter which corner you come around, your hatch comes out first. Or if you're coming up and over in ridge fighting with your great -10 depression and your fantastic turret, you can have your 2 weak spots come over first and get pinned before you ever get your gun online. So that's good. That is going to really work well in World of Tanks. That's going to be a fantastic design that people are going to like to play right there. They're going to love it, especially at tier 9. It's good stuff. The hull is okay, a little bit thicker than the tier 8. Kind of the same angling and idea right there. Not going to be much of a problem for people pressing 2, but 226 will keep those tier 8s and 7s that aren't pressing 2 bouncing on your hull. So quite a bouncy actually setup, except for the aforementioned weak spots. Let's look at the comparison. Okay, we've got the M6Y. I've also got another M6Y on the end. This is the 400 Alpha, the bigger gun, set up on the outside right here. We got the 103, so the stablemate. These are going to all be tech tree tanks. They're all set up with top components and no equipment, no crew skills. 100% crew. Conqueror, which is kind of a similar hold down idea, 50 TP, a relatively new heavy tank. The E75, the old standard there, and then a kind of faster tank, because this tank does have some decent mobility in the T10. And like I said, we'll look at the 400 Alpha tank at the end. But we'll kind of stick with the 320. So I started with the higher Alpha gun and I moved to the 320, much like I did on the tier 8. I did not find the 320 Alpha to be as obviously superior to the 400 Alpha like I did on the tier 8, where the lower Alpha gun just seemed a lot easier and better. The reason being that the differences in pins are actually not that much. 300 to 315 and 251 to 243 or something like that. There it is, 243 to 251, and then the gold round is 315 to 300. Yeah, more pen, right? More pen with the lower Alpha, but not so much that you go, ooh, that's really worth it. It will give you more DPM at 2413 versus 2196. It's significant, but not absolutely amazing. So you run around with a 320 Alpha, and you know what, though? You're anemic at 400. If you look at the rest of these tanks, most of them are above 400. The M103 and the Conqueror are sitting at 400, but they have some other things going on for them. It was a weird decision that Wargaming made right there. In terms of the gun, though, it is relatively comfortable at 1.92. That is definitely up there, along with the Conqueror and zooming in quickly. And dispersion is okay at 0.34. It's worse with the big gun at 0.36. So you're giving up some gun handling for the larger Alpha and lower DPM. Yes, indeed. Yes, you are. Speaking of DPM, we're sitting at 2413 with the small gun, which is favorable actually towards the high end for the rest of these, and 2196 for the small gun. I didn't realize, but the M103 actually has a pretty good DPM at 2503. But of course, that big tumor on the top of it, and actually its whole forehead is a tumor, unfortunately, based on the way that turret is shaped. It's quite a weak turret at the very top of it. Very, very interesting right there. Whole armor's looking good at 165, not quite as nice as, say, the 103. And then you've got that turret 330, which is definitely looking nice right here. We're at really at Conqueror level and above kind of thing at 330. I found, though, obviously, the tumors are a huge weakness. It's just, okay, yeah, if somebody's going to continue to shoot you right in the face of the turret, around the egg shape, then you're going to have a good time. But who is ever going to aim for that when you've got those two great big tumors coming over first? Nobody. That's who. Exactly nobody. It's crazy. Mobility is okay at 40, so it's not quite WZ speeds of 50 or T10 speeds, but that's zippy enough. 15 backwards is nice. It's good to be able to back up quickly and get out of the way. So it's as good as the rest of them in terms of that. Traverse speed's okay at 29, a little bit sluggish right there, and its specific power is at the high end of 16.96. This is a fairly sprightly and mobile tier 9 heavy tank. And that's good. And a lot of times when you have a good mobility and a good turret, you can turn that into something pretty good. You can really use that. Unfortunately, once again, giant tumors. It just absolutely bleeds this thing's ability to be a hold down monster. It's not very good at it because it just has those giant weak spots. I don't know what to tell you. I have no other words for you. I have no other truth for you. 390 on the view range is good, not at the top of some of these others, which is around 400, but it's not crippled by that at all. So let's just take a quick look. Before we get moving on, M6Y and 103, those are kind of the close comparison. They really have a very similar fighting style. A tank that looks like it has a great turret, which can't really do turret things because it has too many weak spots involved in the turret. That's how I would characterize this tank. And just really quickly, we'll get rid of those and we'll take a look at the two. Everything else is obviously the same except for the gun handling when you switch out the gun. So you're talking about dropping down a couple hundred DPM for a larger alpha, which is not that much larger, by the way. I mean, it's only another 80. All it does is bring an anemic 320 up to the low end of the rest of the tier 9s. Where's the benefit, Wargaming? You have two guns and they're both terrible. They are. They're atrocious. It's not like you even get like German accuracy 0.32 or 0.30 with the small gun. You get a okay accuracy 0.34. And the zoom in is nice at 1.92. And the reload is pretty quick, so you do have a decent DPM. But it's not like you've got all kinds of pen for days with this thing. You're just sitting there at 315, which is okay. That's with the gold round, with the heat round. Or you're sitting at 251, which is okay, but not amazing. It's not like the standard round is, holy cow, look at the standard round at 270 or 280 or something where it would make it unique or interesting. It's just average along with the rest of this stuff. So everything about this tank is average, along with every other tier 9, average to worse. Except for the turret, when you look at it and go, ooh, 330, and then you realize, are we back to the giant weak spots on the turret? Two of them? Two massive weak spots on what's supposed to be a good turret? We are. We went right back there. All right, let's take a look at my stats. So here's something funny. It only took me 26 battles to unlock a tier 10. And here's why. When you have all the tanks like I do, and you're going up a new line, and you've already unlocked all the tanks before this one, and there's only a tier 10, and if I've already unlocked, so there's only a tier 10 available. Guess where your blueprints go when you win blueprints? If I had 50, 60, 100 tanks not unlocked, then they would be spread out randomly. They're all going to concentrate on the tier 10. So it took me 26 battles to get the tier 10 because every time I got a blueprint for various missions and things, it was the M5Y blueprint. So I probably got half to, I don't even know if it might have even been 2/3 of the blueprints. So I cranked through that very quickly. Only 26 battles. Got 54% win rate, 987. That's not as good as I would like. I would definitely like at tier 9 for my average experience to be over 1,000. We're going to do 2179, which is low, and assistance 465. Hit rate is okay at 75. Battle survive is actually pretty decent. I mean, just under 54% win rate. Damage and destruction is above 1, but not as high above 1 as I would like. And then look at this armor use efficiency. 0.43 is situational. And without those big tumors on it, it would be much higher. You would be more like 0.6 with the turret being useful. Right now, the turret is kind of situationally useful if people don't know where to aim or they just have a hard time and miss. It's not because there's not a weak spot to hit. It's just maybe they mechanically can't do it, or they just got a little RNG unlucky. And that's no way for a heavy armor profile to work. You don't want your heavy armor profile to work randomly. It needs to be more reliable than that, especially if the rest of the tank isn't so amazing. So there you have it. That's the armor on that thing. I did okay. I had a 3,500 damage game, but I don't know if I have that one as an example. And maximum 3, but only on 26 battles. It was just so below average. Slightly too below average at tier 9. There was nothing it did that I hung my hat on and said, that's this tank's thing. Nothing. All right. Let's look at my setup. Got a pretty good crew in it. It's the same crew I took through the rest of the tanks on my reviews. I had 4 skills and working on their 5th. In fact, they may have just got their 5th because I moved them on to the tier 10. So it was a good crew. I'm running vents, a vert stab, and a rammer. I'm not going try hard. Obviously, purple or semi-purple equipment, whatever they are, pink, I don't know, whatever bond equipment is. Bond equipment and purple equipment are going to increase this thing's capability like it would for any other tank. Running food would help you as well. I didn't notice any fire issues, but I was running a automatic fire extinguisher, so remember that reduces the chance right off the bat. So it's hard to tell whether this would be fire prone or not based on the way I ran it, but you could run food, run a fire directive or something like that as well. I was running 14 heat, and I think I stopped with the 105. So I started with the 120. I played that probably 10, 15 battles, and then I switched over to the 105 for the 320 alpha. And I have to tell you, a 320 alpha heavy at tier 9 is just painful. Because you're going to roll 200 damage rolls often. And, high 200s, obviously. And that you're just not shaving off enough hit points. You run into something like a mouse, right? And yeah, your tier 9 heavy isn't supposed to take on a mouse. But at least if you have some oomph, you can kind of hurt him and whittle him down. When you're saying 320 and you're taking on an E100, a mouse, one of the bigger super heavies at 9, even a Maushin or something, my God, it takes you forever to chew anything off of them. Meanwhile, they're pew-pew on your hatch if you're trying to be hold down boy, or they're just going straight through your hole if you're trying to be, brawl boy. I don't know, folks. It doesn't do anything well. Just doesn't. All right, let's look at some examples. First battle, we're here on Himmel's Empire's Borderdorf, and I've got my 400 alpha gun on this one. So we're going to do, I don't know, about 3,000 damage. This is a pretty good setup for a tank like this. It's a place where you can use your hold down capability in several spots. But remember, it's got the weak spot hatches going on right there. I think I head off to this side first. I can come up and over this hill. The Centurion 7-1 has showed me old Chestos there. That nobody's really there, and eventually a T-30 trundles into sight, but he's actually further back or further north, so they're not right up on the corner here. Now he's coming up the ramp, and I think we can probably make a rather bold move here. I'm hoping he doesn't see me. Decent mobility, so I'm cruising along, not bad, 37, 40 kilometers an hour, something like that. We'll take a quick peek here and see if there's anybody looking. And when I notice that it's just him on the ramp, and we've got some guys in the middle engaged, I figure I can probably cruise straight forward, and then I've got a guy on my left. I'm like, all right, Pilgrim, you and me, let's go take off on this T-30. So I'm just going to use this rock right in front of me as cover from anybody who might be trying to shoot me that way. This guy knows he's in trouble, right? He doesn't even turn on me because he knows the other guy's going to jump on him. So that gives me an opportunity to just shoot him right in the back. Right in the old back arena right there. So there's another hit, and he goes down with Pilgrim. We have a 4005 over here. He gets hit and stunned. I'm going to take that opportunity to put a shot on him. So hopefully his dispersion sucks enough that he misses if he does take a shot. Now he's moving. Decent reload. Holy cow. Just absolutely annihilate that guy. Take a snap at him. Doesn't work out. And now I'm a little bit pinned right here. Things are looking good for the team. He fires, and I'm just going to head over here. I figure I might take a hit in the side before I get to cover, but that's okay. He actually bounces for a wonder. Nice. Didn't quite get into my hole like he was probably trying to do. All right, so if you're going to hold down in a tank like this with big weak spots, this is about the best situation you can get. It's medium range, so I can pop out here. I have a reasonable expectation that he's not going to go right through or be able to snipe anyway into my hatch easily. So he's going to have to rely on a little RNG and accuracy action right there. So this is not bad for this tank. Which means that you have a better expectation that shots coming back are going to hit you in the turret instead of sniping your hatch. The 263, we got Pirani, who's actually in the clan. He goes zinging by. He just showed up in the battle. This was a stream game, I believe. So we got the Tortoise, and we talked about going back. Normally I do in this situation just turn right around and go back. I say screw it. Let's just push in on these guys on this one. I think that day I was losing a lot no matter what I did. We shoot him right in the lower plate. There we go. So the heat does its job. Tortoise actually gets our 263, which is unfortunate. This guy's coming at us. I'm going to try to shoot him in the hatch. There we go. And we get rid of that dude. So now we're going to push in. Things are looking actually pretty good, but we're going to run into a bit of a buzzsaw here because a couple of their tanks are going to pull back and give us a bit of trouble. Pilgrim's coming up. We got the Object 7-1. We have a big fight in the middle. I still don't really know what happened in the middle right there. My assumption is there was a couple more guys back there sniping or something, but I figured that that middle would collapse and we'd be pushing this side with guys coming in from the middle, but that just didn't happen. They sort of got stuffed right there, and they're going to bleed a few tanks. So I try to push in thinking we'll be okay. I get lit. And the Centurion 7-1's in good shape. He kind of stops. He just stops in front. I'm like, oh, bro, come on now. Looking for a shot on this guy, but he's doing a nice job hiding behind the rock right there. Another situation where hold down with this tank is okay. He's still medium-ish range. He's going to have a harder time popping out and snapping my hatches, but we're starting to get to that range where he will be able to hit it. And now they've got the 268-5 that's come back. He puts a big hit into Pilgrim. And unfortunately, we can't just push him because we got the Udez over here. He'll be getting a different angle. We got the 268-5. Really, if we'd have pushed right now, we probably would have been fine. If the 140, the 7-1, Pilgrim, and me with the WT following up had just gone at him, we probably could have collapsed him right here. And notice that the middle sort of disappeared on me. The two FVs are going to get farmed here. And it's still looking okay in terms of tanks, but pretty quickly they're going to even this up more than I like. And now we're going to bleed some hit points because they've got a 268-5 and Udez, and the 277 has come back as well. So we're just kind of trying to figure out, all right, is this guy going to pop out and give me a shot? They're not interested in pushing. They know we've got a lot of tanks here. There he goes. He makes a runner, and I can't quite get to him, but I bounce him. Oh, jeez. And then the 268-5 actually frickin' pins me. And holy cow, but did he or did he not? Yep, right through the old weak spot. You know what I'm saying, my friends? This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Well, come on in here. Bounce off the turret. Oh, geez. Now the 277 wants to come in and maybe get a free shot. I don't know why these guys feel like they can come out of here, but no. Oh, my gosh. What the heck? Did we bounce? No. Oh, when we hit the ground. Great. Thanks. Artie's piling onto us. And we're just stinking the place up right here. I mean, absolutely stinking the place up. Trying to find a shot on this guy. Oh, boy. At tier 10, with the cruise people have, the equipment people have, running the food, doing all the try-hard stuff, that's the kind of stuff that happens at tier 10. So when you have these higher tier tanks that have obviously giant glaring weak spots like this, you might go, well, geez, that was just lucky. He just popped out and snapped you. Like, yeah, and he's done everything on his tank to minimize RNG such that that's actually pretty damn common. And Wargaming, you've built a tank that just collects shots on its giant hatches. You can't do that to a 277. There's no place to do that on it. Right? Oh, yeah. We're still in decent shape. Pilgrim's trying to not get hit. One of our 4005s dies. Finally, the guys over there near the cap are starting to get something done. But the enemy team's doing a nice job evening this thing up. These guys back up, so I'm going to push up. I really can't take a hit from the 700 alpha dudes. Yeah, that guy dies. I don't get any damage on him. Sturv K kind of pushes in, but he's a near dead, so he's probably going to die. I get whacked by artillery, which is able to shoot from there. I have never in my entire career been able to shoot from there. I don't even know what bush he could possibly be in. I guess these trees are just at the right angle. That surprised me that he could shoot that unseen. And old Chesto's here. I don't think this guy actually does any damage in the game. He's a pretty new player. I was a bit miffed with what he was doing right there. Poor Sturv K is getting thumped. He's not going to last very long right there. I got tired of losing all my hit points to everything. We've got an artillery back there. Now the 140, big red fish, might make a move here. This game is getting a lot closer than it should have been. We're really in trouble. Possibly going to throw this thing. We're all kind of shooting into the corner, hoping to kill the Artie, but we don't. Our Artie takes a stab at him. The Sturv K dies. And then pretty soon we're going to finally make a move. Put another stab on that guy. I don't know what old Chestos is doing. Pilgrim, I don't know what this maneuver was, but he gets one of them to fire. Come across here. There we go. A little snap-a-lama-ding-dang. And these guys do a pretty nice job. They both come boil. I should have kept going. I stopped to maybe try to get a shot. I was trying to change the angle, but they know what's up. These guys come. I'm like, oh crap, I got to go, and it's too late because the 277 just decides he's going to take that opportunity. He's got all kinds of hit points. Goes zinging on by. We end up winning this, but it's a close one. We finally run down. The 277 runs through the middle of the map. Let's look at the second example. Alright, second example was Himmel's Ruhenbergdorf. Come over here to what is a pretty standard hold down spot. Tanks with good turrets. One of the problems with this tank that you will notice is how tall it is. And then it's got this giant section where the driver sits and his nuggets up here, but it then brings up a bunch of hitbox that can be hit. It's just a very tall tank. To include, obviously, the tumors, which are way, way up above. So even when you come around little corners like this, you're exposing a good chunk of your tank. That was probably going to bounce 99,000 times out of 100,000. 260 sitting up there. So I'm just trying to do the best I can with the turret. Let's see what we can do with this thing. Okay, I get hit. There's the track actually. So track got broke. You can see the little symbol right there on the bottom right, which is telling you that you've lost a track. Let's see if I can get this camera to do something other than freak out. There we go. So there's no track on that side, but there's the little track in the back right there. So that's why I'm still able to move back and forth. Well, that's nice. He would have tracked me, and I would have had to use a kit right there. But I don't have to. I can just kind of let it repair itself because I can get away. So there's an example of where the new mechanism or the new mechanic actually comes out to your aid and helps you out. Got the 260 up there. He's using the little perch. I'm going to come back around this way and see if I can put some shots, some sneaky shots into these guys. We're actually going to cross. There we go. And we're going to use these bushes here, which are some of the worst bushes in the game. So peek out here and go, alright, is this guy... Oh, he sees me. Oops. Okay. And we got out of there just in time. You actually have to be pretty far back here before these bushes start working. In addition, it's a good thing there's nobody over here on the left side of the church, peeking around the corner. Kind of a bad shot on my part. I was rocking back and forth and moving when I took it. You can see if we can put this relatively high pen heat round into his turret right there. He moved just as I fired. Now we're going to get this guy moving about, and this dude just loses his mind, comes out, so it gives me a free shot. He takes a couple hits in there, and he's pretty much doomed. 260's come off the perch, now he's back down below. Although I do see a 268 version 4 looks like he wants to go up onto the perch. So now he says, my turn. Up he goes. So we've got to start worrying about the bush again, whether or not you can see me or not. There we go. So the accuracy is okay, but not amazing. I think I'm on the 320 alpha now, right? Let's see. Let's grab that one here. Nope, this is another 400 alpha game. I don't have a 320 alpha game for you to see. I think that was my high damage game, though, the 320 alpha gun. Just trying to find any kind of spot. Oh, it turned sideways for me. There you go. Oh! Actually, it didn't hit him, so it didn't bounce off of him. It must have hit into the concrete right below or something. It was just getting a green indicator on the guy. There we go. So we sneak one into the 777. He sort of loses track that maybe I'm sitting behind that bush right there. That guy's going to be hard to pin all day long. Then we got him. And that dude just gets nuked, so Zimbo knocks him down with a 257. Shot. Nicely done. And we start to win this corner a little bit over here. I do have to be careful. I don't want to be sitting here if he just comes around the corner and sees me. 777's hiding behind some dead guys. So I'm only getting some fleeting lights on that guy. There we go. Sneak one into the side turret. That's a good thing. I mean, it's 315 pen, I think. Nope, only 300 pen. Heat pen. So that's a decent amount, not amazing. You're not going to go through the face of the thick turrets, but side of turrets, even rounded ones like the Soviet ones, 300 should be enough to deal with most of those. A little bit unlucky, don't quite get him dead. JPZ's beat up. We're doing okay. Ahead a little bit on hit points, at least as far as I can tell from where I am. But the small tanks are doing nice up in the top there. Doesn't give me quite enough angle there, quite enough flat plate to pin them. But our light tanks and stuff out in the field are doing okay, so we're not in danger of getting pushed from that direction. If we can peel that Char-Fu-Chur out and kill the TNH, we're in good shape. Pretty soon, all of us kind of milling about in here are going to have to do something. I see that our 268-4 is moving, so I'm going to follow up with him. I'm just hoping this guy doesn't come around the corner in time to see me and start shooting me. He just misses being able to light me. Our 268 goes in, but he's got almost no hit points. So I'm going to get in there and help him. And I'm thinking, all right, but he goes in and tries to face hug this guy. I need to get around to his side. He pushes him like, oh no, don't do that, no. All right, so that's flat plated enough that I get a shot on him. And then I'm able to get in behind him. That's important, but he dies anyway. The VZ gets him. So we're able to knock that guy down. Got the Emil 2. He's on good hit points, and there's a 4005 back there. Sneaking around shots, maybe try to... Oh! Maybe rush that just a little bit. Do not want to eat the 4005 shot, that's for sure. I know he's sort of looking around that corner. Pilgrim pushes in and he gets beat up by the TNH and the Emil. I don't know if he thought maybe I was coming in with him, but it was a little bit of an early push. / we kind of got pinned down by the 4005, so I'm just going to change the angle for me. We'll come around this way. This is the mobility of the tank. It's decent. That is one thing that it does. I know I said it doesn't do anything well. It's not amazing mobility, but it's okay. He's just staring. Look at that, just staring at me. Oof! That was close. And 400 isn't enough to shut down a 4005, right? It's just not going to do it. Not somebody with 500 plus hit points. Pretty much near dead Emil, so I'll just come around and get rid of him. This should be easy. Easy peasy, right? There he is. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. We'll just go ahead and... No. Nope. He shoots us. Alright, there's another example of taking a track hit, but I'm still moving. Actually, the second one is what does it. 4005 gets 603 on me, but you can see that I'm still able to move. So I think the track thing is a bit of a gimmick overall, but it does have its uses. Notice I'm able to sort of maneuver a bit, pull back, get into cover. I'm not zinging around quickly at all, right? But it worked out. There we go. Get everything fixed. Here comes the Emil. We'll just shoot him in the back of the turret. There we go. and we're pretty much, that's about it. I may do a little bit more damage, but you get the picture. You get the picture. I mean, as a support heavy tank in this kind of brawling area, yes, it has the turret to kind of go to the hold down turret spots. It's got enough mobility to kind of get around. It's not hitting anybody very hard. Nobody's really afraid of it. But as long as you can kind of stick around and maintain your votes, you can be effective. I can say that about any tank in the game. Let's wrap it up. Well, what's the final verdict, guys? We've been at this for a while now. We've unlocked all of the Yo Tank line, which is a line that was released by Wargaming without sending it to common test or public test. I think it really could have used that, guys. It is overall a weak line with a game mechanic that I think maybe mattered less than they thought it might in terms of balancing the tanks. The tier 6 is slightly below average, has its moments. The tier 7 has a glaring weak spot on the top that destroys its ability to be good. Although some people do like it, it's okay. The tier 8 is probably the best in the line, in my opinion. It kind of does what heavy tanks should do. And at the same time, it has the mechanic with the tracks, which actually helps it out a bit. So because it can do the heavy tank things, it is almost a slightly better T-32 in some respects. The mechanic of the track thing actually is helpful to it. This thing is a terrible tier 9. It's pretty helpless overall. These two giant weak spots just destroy anything the turret might have going for it. As a support tank at mid-range or so, you're going to be able to protect it a little bit better, and it might be quite bouncy in terms of that at times, just based on its hard to pin. But you saw the example where the 777 came out. Was it the 277 pops out, and you got somebody with good hand-eye coordination, and they're ready to roll, and they put that pipper right on your hatch, and they fire, and RNG says that's pretty close anyway, and most shots congregate towards the middle of the dispersion circle anyway, and you're just going to get snapped in the hatch. You are. The tier 10 doesn't quite have the big hatch like that, or doesn't have the big hatches like that. More to come on that one later. I'll review that one a little while later once I get some games in it. But it's possible that the tier 10 does what this thing is supposed to do. However, the few games I've had in it, it is also kind of an anemic heavy tank. Not really a heavy tank, and not exactly a heavium, although you may find some utility in this and running with the mediums. But every time I give that advice to people, I am reminded that your tank in Matchmaker was matched up against another heavy, and if both you and the one you're matched up against go do something slightly different than go to the heavy brawling area, that might be okay. But if too many of your heavies ignore the heavy brawling areas, oftentimes, probably more often than not, your team has trouble. So yeah, you can do the asymmetric deployment, but you better have a good reason. You better do it well, because you're probably rolling a lower percentage play. But there you go. It's a tank that sort of requires you to do some of the lower percentage plays, I guess, to maximize it. That's all I've got for the M6Y, the Tier 9 American Heavy Yo tank. I'm going to call it slightly below average. We're going to call it slightly below average. That is all I've got for today. We will see you.